that we had. If we speak in terms of what has actually literally happened here, is that we're following the existence of this one place that we need to wake up because of a constitution that was created many years ago, and that's why the book was written, and I didn't know how to explain it except for looking at that as a picture of what America was created for. And we have people that have come to this country to please and plead with us to wake up. And here we have an agenda of people that are united in one agenda to say, okay, I'm going to take this information and put it into the atmosphere and how let it travel around the world and so on. And now this is what we're about to do as far as what I'm watching it happen, because I didn't write that book. There's nothing that I did, and if I read it, I'm going, who is this person? What is going on here? But the question still remains, where do the children play? And that's what I was trying to sing a song, where does the children play? We know all this stuff. We have all of this science in the world. We have so much science, and we don't understand where it came from. We don't see it. We just look at it horizontally. And it's amazing. It'll make a lot of money for everybody, But we continued, by making the money, we continued to pollute what actually created us. And I'm so sad over that. But that sadness is something that's valuable within our hearts because we see our own children, like Eve, mentioned what Ray had mentioned before, all of this happened is that it's piercing our hearts. It's like taking your heart completely out of you because it doesn't belong in your body anymore. It belongs to the universe. It belongs to you, and it belongs to everybody here. So the question is why is it these technologies? And I brought this shirt, I guess if you might want to see it. This is the shirt that a person that I knew 30 years ago was relating directly to the idea that we had the possibility to bring these technologies to flourish, but we didn't do it. What happened? We had these ideas, and yet what stepped in was a hard leveled ego, that we had. We just couldn't let go of the information. We hoarded the information and we wanted to use it for ourselves. But that I don't see that with anybody here. We don't want to do that. And it took a good friend of mine, who likes to kick my ass, and he's here, because he knew what I was doing, way back years ago, going city to city, running a machine that you put water in a machine and it comes out as hot as the sun, equal to the surface of the sun. So what am I supposed to do to try to tell people? I don't know. But the thing is that you're always finding that out. It's in your hearts. And it will always be in your hearts. You will never be able to get rid of it because it is what we are. We are what we are inside. And so is the earth. The earth is something inside it, and it completely understands what we're going through. And this is all I can say. But I really want you guys to know how important each one of you are. And, no matter what trials you're going through, you can definitely do the most important thing in your whole life is to look towards the next generations. And you can always blame them. You always can say, well, it's all their fault, because of the computers or because of something else. But we can neutralize those things. And this is what we're relating directly to at this point. So I'm letting go. I'm praying that we can all understand. So this is what Adrian was asking for, and this is what we did, we did years and years ago. We added something to the Brown's gas machine only because it needed an equality between hydrogen and oxygen. And to do that, we took something from the trees itself. So this is just a small unit that basically could do that, could neutralize smaller particles and so on, and it would relate directly to bringing what some of us are calling the blue flame. But we weren't able to do that. We could make images of it, we could do all sorts of things, but that one part was left out. And so we learned that through the Clear Lake project. And that's why I wanted to say that this little unit could actually cut through another unit. It could weld something perfectly and so on. That unity is what we have been talking about so many years ago. And yet no one was able to do that. But where we learn it? We learn it from Clear Lake. The reason why we learn it is because we learned that it was blue-green algae, which was the beginning of that aspect. So if you go back to if you go back to the mercury situation, and this is why I say we have to be gentle with the units that exist, because if we have a negative thought towards anything that was created by God, that will rebel. That unit will basically fall apart. So what we did was we had to find the negative so that we could find the positive. California is really has a central valley that could feed the world, and yet we polluted it. We continue to pollute it through things that we call heavy metals or things that we want to get rid of and so on. But these things yearn to go back. They yearn. They yearn to go back to the ether, and we don't know how to do it. So we're finding this out through our touching one another, our ability to do all that stuff. And we're detoxing ourselves and so on to get back to sanity. And so this is why I feel we're together. If we look at this element, and I often talked about Yogananda and his connection to Luther Burbank. He made trips from LA because he's talked about LA as being a place that had saints and sages there for millions of years ago. And how do we compute that when we can only figure out 20 years? After 20 years, we forget everything. So here we are, at a place where there's mercury, which is an important element that we have to have in order to survive. And that's where our energy actually literally comes from. But we put it in an evil way. We put it in like we call a gold brush. If we wanted any gold, and you can see in this picture, you can see up there that the gold was in the Sierra Hills or in all these other areas in this proportion. It stopped at Clear Lake and then it went into the ocean. So do we understand this enough? Do we perceive that? Well, I put it in the book, but there are many things that will inspire you if you listen to what God has been telling us for all these years and how important it is that California has a central valley that can feed the world. And this is the same way on the other side of the ridge, the other side of what we call the Ring of Fire. We're offering that information to all the people around the Ring of Fire to notice that there were other rings of fire many years ago, but the message comes from within the earth that we can see that more clearly. And this is a picture of the Sacramento River, and the caldera of Clear Lake is just a few miles from there, and you can see the water glowing as it going into the Bay Area. This is the glowing of the water that was totally structured and so on. And I know we could talk for hours about these things. And I pray that we'll now be able to connect the dots to all of this so that we can understand where primary water exists in the rest of the world and how it needs our work, it needs our studies, it needs that thing inside of us to bring that out, to structure the surface water so that we can understand the water in between and the water below the mantle. So I'm really happy and I'm going to quit now, but the thing is, if we can just understand this and we can understand that there were many throughout the world and what pushes up from the universe, what pushes up within ourself is the major thing that was in ourself, and it continues to be that way. So this is a ring of fire, but it tells us the story of how on the continental divide, basically how it meets in the middle, and we had talked about that, and that's where the in the middle is extremely important for us to understand why we are reaching this information and how we can reach this information and how each one of us had experienced those things, but we just didn't know enough about it. And so that's why Clayton Nolte is in part of this right now. And I gotta bow out to that because I know that he knows this. And see, this is a picture again of that we didn't know how this worked, but it comes from the North Pole to the South Pole, and it meets at that one particular place in the middle where the ring of fire meets, and that is in where the pyramids are. So there's so much that we can talk about and relate over it and all of this, but we're still involved with our own personal lives. And it isn't anything wrong with that. We have to go through the physical to get to the spiritual, but we're here now. I really believe that, and I would love for people to just come out and tell me I'm just full of shit, please do that. Because we can get somewhere, if we can just dialogue this stuff. And there's so much that I want to talk about. And so I hope Clayton gets a chance to talk here because I really believe that, where Veruska is talking about the human touch and how important it is to each other and how we have to understand that we're gifted to feel this pain of the earth. We're totally gifted. And we don't want to see people die. We don't want to see people go crazy. We want love in our hearts to put the dots together. And I thank you for being here. And so Adrian, take over here so we can get this thing.
Thank you, Russ. That was great to get those pictures together and get those points really clarifying. And I wanted to just quickly address the teenagers because it's come up and kind of an energy of them really carrying this, exactly what Russ just said, of this grief of the earth. I think they're processing that for the collective, these teenagers, because they're at that stage where they're so full of that creation energy moving, so it's harder for them to suppress this. And so prayers to all the teenagers out there struggling to make sense of this world right now. My goodness. So I was hoping to hear from Michiko. I really want to make sure to hear from Clayton, like Russ said, too, but I would love to get a report, Michiko, about your trip. It's so great to have you with us again.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everyone, for being here and sharing this time. And Ross, thank you so much for the wonderful um, thoughts and you just shared with us. Um, okay, I left Japan on the 13th of February, and through New Delhi, I flew into Indore, the place called Indore, um, in India, to participate in this event called United Consciousness Conclave 2025, where more than 50 speakers gathered from more than 20 countries, and I was very honored to be there. The purpose of this event was to unite everyone together. It said one consciousness, one, I can't remember, one, to be one from all around the world. And as you know, that India's economy has been growing so rapidly, and they wanted to think together how we can still grow economically at the same time, um, ecologically. So one of the most important subject was to think about spirituality and science and technology. And it was very interesting because many, let's see, let me share the right. So this was the event, and let's see if I can. There were many people from yoga world, from all the countries, and I was the only one from Japan. And these are, yeah, you can see so many experts being there. And people were just talking, the professionals were discussing about nature and our spirituality. And it was very interesting because just after I gave my talk on water and consciousness, the expert who came from, I think, from Croatia, talked about how water is so deeply connected with consciousness, and it affects nature around the world. So everyone was really um, concerned about nature and destruction of the earth, and how we should be very spiritual and yet think about economy and growth. And actually, what I think is, um, I was there in India about 5 years ago, exactly 5 years ago, and 7 years ago as well. And this was the third time I was invited in India, and I could clearly see the real rapid growth of economy. Many constructions and making roads and buildings, and I was kind of saddened to see um many buildings were so westernized, and they have the beautiful history and culture. But the good thing was there were many volunteers from universities, one of the very major universities there, and they were very smart kids, and they were very spiritual at the same time, and they valued, even now, the teachings of Gita, and also the Hinduism, as well as Mahatma Gandhi's teachings. So I thought that if in as India is growing so fast, they will be leading the world, as well as with technology, and most importantly, spirituality. So I would like to share some of the pictures I took there. Let's see. Okay. Can you see this?
Mhm.
Okay. Let me make it. Right. It says one consciousness and one being. So they're just totally talking about the same thing as we were talking about. And that's based on love. And we are the family of one physical body called Mother Gaia. So that's why we're just one. We have to know that we're one. And when there were more than 50 speakers, so they brought us by bus, 2 buses. And as soon as we got off the bus in front of the venue, there were many people and dancers welcoming us, and they were dancing like this. And those are the pictures of the speakers. And when I got off the bus, a couple of ladies came and asked if they could take a picture with me. And then I said, of course. And there were more and more started to come and got together with me for the bus, for the picture. And they were really pure and beautiful. And this is during the talk that I was giving. And they I could have just 20, all the speakers were allowed to have 20 minutes. Some people had only 15 minutes. So I was very fortunate. I had 20 minutes to talk about water and consciousness. And before the 20 minutes, they had made a video of introducing me, who I was. Then that was about 5 minutes. And they really did a really nice job. And this is still the video from the video. And at the end of my presentation, I always talk about what H2O meant, and the interpretation of Dr. Emoto's H2O. That is, one water is one love and two gratitudes. And if we all receive God's love, that's one love, oxygen with love, and with two gratitudes, double gratitudes, then love and gratitude will go all around the world and will make the world a peaceful place. And that's what love is teaching us. And I think this is the most important thing. And I concluded my presentation with that. They just loved it. And at the end of my the event, I received this plaque, and the a man with the vest on the left side is the organizer, main organizers, and others are, I think they are collaborators. She is Hado instructor, certified Hado instructor from India, and she came all the way from her place, taking about 8 hours by train to be with me. At the beginning of the ceremony, there were it was a 3-day event. And the very first day was, they had the ceremony of fire. We were asked to bring a piece of wood from my country and 200 milliliter of water from my place, and just 100 milligram of soil, Mother Earth, from my country. So I brought all 3 of them. In the first day, they collected all the woods from all the countries and made fire ceremony to represent that we are one. And then the second day, they had a water ceremony, combining all the waters from all nations, and showing that we are one. And the third day was soil. We made the ball of this soil, and we put flowers around it, and celebrated our ceremony. These are the children who were there. They were also volunteers and real good kids, so I gave children's books. Those two on the left picture are from Russia. They were yogis, practitioners. And it was, they are smiling, but I just saw that they're kind of, I could feel sad, the vibration from them. And the woman on my right side is from Malaysia. And the river that I'm on the boat, you can see, is called Narmada River. That is a female river compared to Ganges River. Ganges River is a male river. And at this time, during this time, from between January 26th and February 26th, because of the alignment of the stars, they were having a very special celebration that happens once every 144 years. And so many people, I think they said that 600 million people came to this place from all around India to celebrate, to heal themselves in this river as well. This is the river, and I collected the river from this the water of this river to test to see what kind of crystal that makes. And the man on the right side is from the Ministry of Police Department. He was a powerful man. He took me to the river, I mean, secretly, to obtain this river. He even got chartered this boat for me to collect the water. So my co-workers are taking the water crystals. So this is it. And it was a very special, very meaningful event. And I was very grateful to be there.
Wow,
Thank you.
Michiko, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing those pictures with us. You could just feel the energy. And it's so wonderful that our group got to go with you and be part of that ripple of consciousness. So, and it's great to have you back with us too. And I can't wait to share with you how I think we sent out the recording, but talk more about our first intention lab. But maybe first, Russ, do you think we should talk about the physical testing?
Well, I mean, this is so wonderful, and I keep thinking from the Americas, it's like a gift to the rest of the world and to India. I mean, I know the idea of the Hindus and the Yogananda and all the masters and all of this is just like screaming out at this point. Because we needed to bring that together, and I can just see this happening, as we sit and talk about it, because it's not just what Jesus said, but what he had learned in India, and then we've all documented all that, and what's going on in the communication, and what's going on with the Himalayas and the water coming off of those mountains are just so valuable and so on. So anyway, I would like if you don't mind to get just a little bit of what we're learning about structured water again and how it works. and if Clayton can say a few words, and he can kick me in the butt, as he usually says, if he wants to. So can we do that just before we get into the measurement with Libby? Can we do that? Is that a possibility?
Or I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the
result
lab
from the lab
measurements.
that you
Yeah.
shared
you
with
sent
us
the water.
on
Do you want
Yeah.
to talk about that first before we get into
I would actually think that it would go first what Clayton's about to say. I think it'll inspire us to get to this one point, and the reason why we have to put the spiritual in front of physical. It's so It's so important, and so with the testing, I think we're going to be wowed over that. So is that the next step is, I think I could be wrong, it's Clayton. Is that okay?
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about structured water or whatever you'd like to say?
I'm not sure. Okay, yes, I am sure. What I wanted to present is a technique that will take your command authority of each one of you on this event to be part of more aggressively fixing Clear Lake, structuring it. And this is it's a technique called SAVE, Structured Activated Voice Energetics. So basically, your voice has a very significant command authority to change everything for the better at any time, anywhere. And I wanted you all to see what the part you would play could be demonstrated as the powerful beings that you are. I already talked to Libby. Libby's already done a baseline on Clear Lake. She's been doing this for a while now. So what we accomplished tonight and her ability to go back in and to document if anything has changed. And if it is, to what degree? Like I said to her, any one of us can do this. But it's the two or more gathered together in like mind that is intriguing at this stage of what we're doing, to me, that we have the potential of making a significant impact on Clear Lake again now, which you already did one time in September, I believe. So, without saying much more, I would like each one of you to repeat after me. Are you all in?
Yes.
Read out loud to ourselves. So maybe mute, but say it out loud.
Yes, please. You can mute or you can be one.
Yes.
Okay. So the SAVE technology is using your voice to command change in the world. So the first line is, I'm okay with Clear Lake structuring.
I'm okay
with Clear Lake structuring.
Clear Lake structuring is okay with me.
Clear Lake
structuring is okay with me.
I release all connections.
I release all connections.
All connections.
I release all, I'm sorry, I got mixed up here. I release all emotions and feelings around Clear Lake structuring.
I release all
emotions and feelings around Clear Lake structuring.
Clear Lake structuring.
Clear Lake structuring.
Release all emotions and feelings around me.
Emotions and feelings around I
love Clear Lake structuring.
I release Clear Lake structuring.
Breaking up.
I love Clear Lake structuring.
I love Clear Lake structuring.
Clear Lake structuring loves me.
Clear Lake structuring loves I and we.
I release all connections.
I release all connections.
associations,
associations,
and generations around Clear Lake structuring.
around Clear Lake structuring.
Clear Lake structuring releases all connections,
Clear Lake structuring releases all connections,
associations,
associations
and generations around me.
around and generations around I.
Generations is past lives. And you know what connection, what associations and connections are. The last line, I want you to say, I now let go
I now let go
and let God.
and let God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. Very powerful. And so you could say these words to yourself in your mind, but the power is in the speaking of the voice.
Yes, your voice is, I've tried to make this clear, your voice is analog. It's the most powerful instrument on this planet. Your voice. Everything that you speak to is empowered to be. In other words, you are speaking for God. And your voice is analog, it's healthy. Just like the musical instruments that you play, a piano, a guitar, or any instrument. When you symphony, or you go to the opera, you're listening to natural voice. When you go out in nature, it is the truth of nature. It's what we are here to accomplish together, to be one with all. So Mr. Anderson and I spoke quite a bit about what it is. Basically, in nature, it's all about oxygen. So if you go to the ocean is the largest device for cleansing the air on the earth, on this planet. It creates that the ocean, the waves, the ocean itself create 45,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, basically all oxygen, pure, healthy. If you go into the forest, the wind striking the point of a leaf divides into oxygen, negative ions, 25,000 per cubic centimeter. And a cubic centimeter, by the way, is the size of a sugar cube, if you didn't know. When you take a shower, water striking a solid object makes you feel good, negative ions, oxygen. When you drink structured water, an increase of 25% oxygen. When you breathe structured air, 25% oxygen goes to every cell in your body. And things that are advariant or do not serve cannot survive in an oxygen rich environment. It's against God's law. Simple. And you're all it. Perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Clayton. I can just feel the power in that save technique. So I'm glad that we got to do that again. And it gave me an idea that we did a lot of different things in our first intention lab. We did some tapping, we did some contract clearing, some healing meditation and prayer. And and we did the safe technique then. And so it'd be kind of cool to have these at separate times. So we talked about doing that so that we could measure out them separately as well. So, but I think on that note, perhaps Libby, do you feel ready to talk a little bit about the results? And I have those graphics I can share, or maybe you can. Are you are set up for screen sharing as well? Or
Yeah.
okay.
No, I'm not. I'm disabled for screen sharing, so someone.
Okay. Michiko can do that, but I also have those graphs if you want me to pull them up, but it's probably easier if you do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yep.
Thanks so much for taking these measurements. It's super exciting, Libby, taking these radionics
Now,
measurements.
Libby, you are the co-host as well, so you can share.
Okay, good. I got it now. Share. Okay. All right. So you should see a bunch of spaghetti lines, right?
Yep, we see it.
Okay. So um, just quickly a little bit of background. It was only last Wednesday when we did, as a group, we did various healing things, each person, or there were multiple different healing things going on, including the save technique that Clayton just did. And I measured by radionics the what a lot of different properties we're doing before and after that. So radionics is an energetic technique, basically, to measure things. It's not considered a valid scientific instrument, but it's nevertheless, I'm measuring things, and I consider it semi-quantitative technique. So I measured, in this graph is a whole bunch of negative emotions listed in the legend here, negative emotions. I measured positive emotions, and I measured physical things to do with the lake, such as, sodium or potassium or nitrogen. And so and in addition, I measured the land, a half a mile size land around the lake, and I measured the air above the water, but I haven't graphed those yet. So this is just measuring the actual water, which I take to be an average of all the water in the lake. So this first graph, and radionics has no units to it. It's a unitless energy. So it's just kind of relative to another measurement. And so what I did, starting January 29th, I started taking measurements. And so a lot of this might be considered baseline. However, I think there's more than that going on in here. But the major thing to show is this peak. I think if you can see my cursor moving, this peak here.
Yes, we can.
Great. This peak is just about 5 hours before we did that healing last Wednesday. And then the next point of measurement was here, and that was a day after the healing that we did. So this was before the healing and this was after the healing. And what it shows is a whole group that all of these negative emotions went down with that healing. So, beforehand is all of this sort of variation. It's kind of spread out and things like that. But it's very clear to me that all of this went down at about the same time. So I think that's a significant thing. And then in the next day and 2 and 3 measurements that I made, then you can see that the negative emotions are coming back up. They're starting to increase again. So we just did that healing for, that 1 hour or so, and now the negative emotions are coming back up. and it seems to happen mainly as a group. So that's a pattern that I have seen in the past with other types of measurements I've done, with radioactivity in the water, and other things. So it'll be interesting as we go forward to see the effects of what we did today, and I will measure that, and plot that and see what happens. So these here are they're off the chart, off the scale here. So the numbers are way up here. So these are coming down here. And okay, so now the positive emotions are shown here. It includes a life force energy, or what we might call chi, and love and harmony, gratitude, joy, freedom, clarity, hope, and appreciation. So the scale is different here. The scale is up to 100. And well, let me show this one first. It's just a different scale here. The scale is way, way higher, up to 1,000,000. And this is a logarithmic scale now. The reason I put it this scale is to be able to show the life force energy on the graph, because it's very high. It's actually kind of artificially graphed. It's actually way through the roof. But this is life force energy. Okay, the purple line. And then all of the other positive emotions are down here, and so it's harder to see what's going on. So I just expanded that in the scale up to 20, so we can see a little bit what's going on here. And we see that the healing energy was done just after this point right here, about 21 days. So all of these things kind of went off the charts, meaning they went up here. And then after that, they started going back down here. So these have come down quite a bit. So the positive, so after the healing energy, then the positive emotions, they initially went up, but then they went back down again. Okay. So that's also a pattern that I've seen before when I measured the radioactivity last summer. And then the physical items, which there's a lot of them, but it's things like mercury and methyl mercury and radiation and conductivity and salt level. I'm less clear about what these measurements mean in radionics, but I felt I needed to do them to see what kind of results we get. And so all this beginning part is somewhat baseline, and then again where the healing was done, this was just before the healing, and this was just after the healing. So again, all of these items seem to go down after the healing, and then they go up again afterwards as well, up and down. So it varies a bit, but I thought that was very curious. I'm not so familiar with the lake biology, but I thought it was very curious that these physical measurements went down. So I don't know why. I don't know if these going down is better. I mean, some things might seem obvious. Mercury going down sounds like, and methyl mercury going down sounds good. The only thing that did go up, actually, it was this gray line here, which is oxygen.
COD.
COD. Mm-hmm.
Chemical oxygen demand.
Yeah, I
That's
forgot what it stood for.
value
Thank you.
that shows that purity of water, pollution of water.
Yeah.
So it went
So
up. Hmm.
it went up while the other things went down. So I thought
How
that was very
strange.
interesting too. Hmm.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then the last graph is about the algae in the water. And the heavy blue line here is the total algae. For some reason, the units to measure it is in microns per liter. So microns is a length, microns per liter. And then the other four lines are the different variants of algae that can show up. And so this is as a percentage of the total. So these other lines are the four variants as a percentage of this total of the blue line. I don't really know how to interpret this either. I can see that this yellow line here only started showing itself after day 21 or so. I didn't see it at all before. As similar with this gray line, the two variants, RR and LR, didn't seem to show up until day 21 or so. So I don't know what is the effect of the healing is on the algae either. So we need some more lake biology person. So that's the data I have that I've plotted anyway. I have the other data for the land and for the air above the water, but I thought this was the most significant data to show at this point.
What's
And
most profound, Libby, thank you so much. That is so amazing. And for all that hard work, the time that's gone into that. Um, the thing that sticks out to me just overall is like every single graph shows a change at
yes,
that time.
yeah. And I think that's kind of one takeaway lesson is because it is affected and it can be measured. Um,
Libby,
yes,
check for cinnabar because the
okay,
mercury is being replaced when we structure the water. The mercury is being replaced by cinnabar,
okay,
which is non-toxic.
okay. Okay, that sounds good. Good to
Did
know.
it, did everybody get that message that we got from the lab? You know, did you look at that? Are you hearing me? I just want to know. Um,
Yes. I saw that email, Ross, and I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that report as well.
yeah, I would really like to see, what we're doing with Clayton as well as Libby can, compromise what that lab report can do and or whether we should just throw it out. You know, uh, we got it finished, but it seems like, it's just the beginning part of it. So is there any
Libby, do
logic
you
to
want to screen share, end your screen share, and I'll bring up
yeah,
the
yeah,
what Russ is talking about
can
here.
we do that? Can we do that? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we paid somewhat about $600 or maybe little less than $1,000 to get all of this taken care of. So I want to see if we brought some logic to it. And
So here's the symbols. Contaminant not detected is the green check. Blue circle was detected at or above the minimum detection level, but not above the reference standard. Yellow triangle, the contaminant was detected above the standard, which is not an EPA enforceable MCL. Red cross, the contaminant was detected above the EPA enforceable MCL. X, these results may be invalid. And so here's the all of the materials, and there's no red crosses. There's a couple of the yellow triangles, and that's aluminum, iron, hardness, turbidity. And then there's blue circle, total dissolved solids, chlorine, sulfate, alkalinity, zinc, strontium, sodium, silica, potassium, manganese, magnesium, lithium, calcium. Everything else green check mark, including mercury. And so yeah, what do you think, Russ? Where's the mercury on?
So
That's
is
Yeah.
perfect.
this water from before the prayer, right? Us?
Yeah. It was before the I think no, it was during the prayer. I mean, we did a lot of work on that, but I mean, we couldn't really adjust it. We needed a baseline, and because of the baseline, this is what we got. But I got a strong feeling because I know it says EPA primary and all of this that that's some of the reasons why we're not getting forward to this because we can't see the toxins anymore once it turns into methyl mercury. And of course, what was just said by Clayton, that it could very well go back into its original state of cinnabar. So none of this is mentioned, but I do wonder if we could use this in terms of saying, okay, the EPA is not doing anything about it because of what we're receiving here. Is this something that they're doing that they don't have to say, or is it something that we can just make some shifts and changes so that we can talk to the
I think that's a really great report.
yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything really flagging that's off base here.
Yes, and it was taken before that. Now if we went and took it later, if we would have taken it earlier, what would it have been the report?
Well,
If it is
that's
a
that's all hindsight.
yeah,
Yeah, go from where you are today.
yeah.
Move on.
So in other words, I wanted to make sure that we were going in the right direction and take this because Mike was really adamant in making this happen. So I said, well, let's go do it. And we followed through, and this is the report we got.
And one thing I want to remind you of here, when we structured this lake early on, the big things that happen in structuring is structuring. It neutralizes all the toxins, and it neutralizes toxins and hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are oils or fuels, but toxins are all those things that are harmful to you, including mercury. The other really big thing it does is it actually eliminates bacteria, all viruses, all molds, and all pathogens. They turn to dirt. They can never be what they were. It'll take 3 to 5 years for the lake to reaccomplish where it was when we structured it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, you're going to see an enormous influx of birds and animals and nature. And it's going to affect people around the lake, I would say, for at least 100 miles.
Yep. Yep. And so that's why we see the lake is now clear. It's not green at all. It's
Right?
not, there's no green at all. And I do have tests, there are lakes that are near me, and put, we've already put structured water in there, and basically we could see it's still green, and but the fish come to the surface, because there's more oxygen. And I could see that, you know. So I wondered if this report, and this report, we're going forward now, but I wondered if this report can tell us that it's marked as preliminary, and I don't know what that means. He said they'll send the finished report tomorrow, so I will be able to get that report and see if there's a difference between the preliminary report and the last report. I couldn't understand why they call it preliminary. So anyway, well, I'll find out tomorrow and I'll report to everybody about it. Is that okay?
Sounds good, Ross. Thank you.
Yes.
File it and move on.
So we're coming to the end of our time. I want to honor everybody's time tonight. And of course, I really want to hear from everybody because it's so wonderful, the amazing, powerful souls that show up to these meetings. And what an honor to be here with you. So we feel you, even if we haven't heard from you. Is there anyone who feels called to share something? And also, Rhea, I'm hoping that you can share a song for at the end. Here in just a few minutes. And oh, who does? Rhea? Rhea, do you need to leave?
Yeah.
I didn't see that message. Would you like to do your song now?
Sure. That would be great.
If you have enough time.
Thank
I'm so
you.
sorry
Yes.
I didn't see that message.
No, that's okay. And someone's coming to pick up a package, but it's I have enough time. So
okay.
no
Okay.
worries.
Thank you so much for being here and blessing us with your music.
Thank you. And thank you for all these beautiful, powerful beings who have dedicated so much energy and love to the healing of this water. And, you know, it's just like a drop in the ocean. This one space being healed travels out and impacts the collective. There's a song that I felt moved to sing today, and it's called The Blessing. And it is really a prayer for healing. And the first time I heard this song, I had been living in Topanga Canyon at the time, and we were under an evacuation order for fires. And I was driving out to stay with a friend in the desert in Arizona, and this song came on. And as I heard the song, I started singing it for the lands of Topanga and for the waters, and realizing that, you know, it talks about our family and our children, and realizing that, you know, all of creation has family and children, and we all are each other's family. So I wanted to share this in recognition of the oneness of all of us and the blessing of the water family and the water kingdom, and recognizing that the water is a reflection of our collective consciousness. And so whatever turbidity is being held in our collective mind, and therefore in the water, may it be clear. May it come clear. And okay. And this is written by Carrie Joby, this song. It's in the spirit of a Christian praise song. But the idea is that, I think it says Lord, but it's really that eternal, that sources all things. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn her face toward you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you, make her face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Amen. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you. Generations and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, and you're coming and you're going and you're weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, he is for you. Amen, 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 amen. Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
Thank you, Rhea.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
And thank you so much for your special song last week for our intention lab. We didn't mention the music part of the contribution. So it's so special, the vibrations. Jupiter has just turned direct in Gemini, and Jupiter's expansion, growing and bigger and more. And now that it's direct in Gemini, it's calling us to bring forward our expressions. And that's such a great energy for us, Rhea, because those expressions can come in any vibrational way, you know, writing, singing, dancing, talking. And so the SAVE technique is right on target with that too, Clayton. Thanks so much. So Tammy has raised her hand. How are you doing, Tammy?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
And thank you for being the voice for the SAVE technique. That was perfect.
Okay, very welcome. I wanted to, Clayton, hi. I have some comments input, which actually Russ and I used to talk to Russ about quite a while back. And providing it's appropriate, I'd like to reference briefly some of the work and comments that I have about where you're at right now, which was wonderful. Is that okay?
Sure, Tammy. We are trying to finish
Very
at
good.
7:30 or
Very brief.
6:30 PST. So if we can keep
Very
it short to honor everybody's time, that would be great. But we'd love to hear it.
It's very brief, and I totally respect that. So today I was very thrilled to witness the clearing work that we did. It was so beautiful and heartfelt. I wanted to mention in the practice I offer a service, we do assessing, clearing, balancing, and upgrading. I'm going to say it really fast, Clayton. And what I used to talk to Russ about is that also we metamorphosize. We do monatomic metamorphosis as well as transmutational alchemy. Why I'm mentioning that is, for one thing, and I'm almost finished, Adrian Elise, thank you so much, I'm almost finished, is that today you mentioned a 30-year cycle. And one of the other things we do in upgrading and expediting is enhance or remove unnecessary reasons that things take as long as they do, because it's all belief with the spoken word. So I wanted to mention that, as well as this is really beautiful, because when Russ and I spent the most amount of time talking about emotional and energetic clearings with the spoken voice, at that stage, it hadn't developed into the science work you all are doing now. So that is fantastic. I want to briefly add that I'm aware and do practice also, in addition to the clearing, the balancing, and the uploading, the upgrading.
Yes, of course.
Wonderful. And
Yeah.
this is an ongoing discussion we're having. So thanks for bringing it up, Tammy, because, and I sense this in the graph, and maybe Libby can feel into it because I can't say exactly how this came through, but the energy came through around that, because I'm working with Clayton's water structuring device. That's quite powerful, and I can feel the potential of the field, and yet I feel that there's resistance and like a continued message, like where we're kind of going up against energies, what in homeopathy is called a maintaining cause, and so what you're talking about is getting, kind of reaching that these energies within the psyche, the consciousness, ourselves, the collective, that might be keeping us from receiving the healing.
Well, most likely, I believe what Clayton's doing is allowing people to receive the healing for its own sake. However, yes, what you're saying you're detecting, just clearing, in my experience and others in my communities, just clearing it doesn't always make it happen, bring it into fruition. And so is it more resistance? Not necessarily. It can be things that are missing, things that mass consciousness believes has to take a long time, because that's all they've ever observed, where we find that things can be expedited. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to overspeak, and especially at the end of the call. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Thank you, Tammy, so much for that input. And I think that too. I think we're really talking about our conceptual judgments and perceptions and conceptions, because Ross and I keep talking about this, that your life is changed when you come into primary water and you really understand it. And this is what happened with me with structured water too. I found out about it years ago, and every time I kept trying to remember it, it would be gone from my mind. It was like it couldn't hold on to the structure of the structured water. It was like it kept being stolen, the concept. And so this is very powerful. It's kind of like that ship off the side of the ocean you're talking about, Clayton, of whether or not you have the perspective to know it's there, to be able to see it. And so how do we open people's minds? And I think this intention work in these studies is so great way to demonstrate and open up that. What do you think, Clayton? Do you want to speak to anything that Tammy was saying she was addressing you?
I'm grateful for the acknowledgement and and what's happening, and extremely grateful for what you guys are voicing today. That you, Adrian, all the things that are coming up for you. It's interesting, and also Tammy, I'm grateful. Thank you. There is a whole lot more to this, and I believe that it takes that mind that can address it, for one thing, but identify the differences between one side and the other side of what you're experiencing. It's part of the magic of the journey. And I really do think that it's something of this time that we together are going to discover a truth that is just beyond reach, but may not be today.
Yes, I want to say something to that, Clayton, I think back at all these 30 years of this stuff, and there's so many people I want to admire actually for being here, but Tammy's one of them, because we did all, just the very stuff that we connected to, and that's what it is, where two or more are gathered. That's what's happening to all of us. And there's so many techniques that can be won here that we can actually relate to. But I do think that we can do this by the measurements that Libby was talking in terms of, and I think we should continue this. And I think that, we don't have much time as far as, what we're talking about. But we do have all the time in the world. I don't know how to explain that, but we do have all the time in the world because God does that for us, gives us his time. The 30 years and then the 3,000 or 3 million years, all of this, is touching our hearts. And there's so much talent here. And I don't want anybody to be discouraged because we made it to this one point. And the thing that Libby showed, that all of a sudden the positive went down, but it was only because we're learning that, and I can't wait till we get more measurements now and to see how far it went up just because of this one meeting. And I'm thankful for all of you for doing that. It wasn't me or it wasn't you, it was all of us. It was we, do re, we, not do re me. And this is what's happening. And so I'm just very grateful. Dan, it's good to see you again, and I mean, Christy, I think you're, brilliant. Jeff, I hope you get that thing that I sent you, Yeah, I hope you got that. And
Find a time, I would love to. There's so much energy here, and it's so great that, just I think as this group and the consciousness, that to be aware that your presence here and your energy is felt and powerful and supportive. And so, but it would be nice to have another meeting soon where we can hear from more people. And I would love to do that. And Michiko, thank you so much for hosting this meeting tonight
so much,
and
everyone.
being here with us.
I will
And Chris, would you
post
send
this
us out?
recording soon.
Thank you. Chris, would you send us out with a prayer?
Yes, I would be honored to do that. Thank you for letting me have a moment for prayer here. So, just a wonderful, wonderful night tonight. And just like Tammy was a voice for all of us, maybe I hope I can touch some voices that wanted to say something, and we'll get to next time. The I loved when Russ started us off with the brown gas, and did grab a picture of that off whoever was asking for that. And because just about an hour before this meeting, I'm talking with the guy about a water dispenser, and all of a sudden we're on Brown's gas, and he's talking about hydrogen and oxygen and the mix, and I'm looking at him going, oh my God, it's happening. And then the necessary to vibration. And then we go to Michiko, who's giving us the H2O with the love, gratitude, appreciation combo, extending out peace from around the world. And we finally get back to the I, because what's happening is we're bumping it up into the frequency, into the vibration, into the love, into the grace, into the connection with God. And when we do that, the thing that has the most effect from our work is our intention. And this intentional group has been such a blessing, holding the spirit and extending that, because you can only give what you got. So as we breathe in, let's breathe in that ether's a wonderful air filled with the primary waters, the negative ions, and just breathe it in and breathe in all that love. And as we breathe it out, extend it out to all of us here and all of us around us. Just like our structuring of the water extends out, so does our extension of peace and love to everyone around us. Amen.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so grateful for all of you.
Oh,
And Chris, we got to have that conversation about what happened in 1972
Yes.
coming up, isn't it?
Yep. Coming up.
Pretty soon.
to be continued. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope that we can see you
very
again next
much.
time and hear more about what you think about this research and our movement forward. It takes all of us, and we feel the energy. You could just feel your presence here, whether we heard from you or not. So I look forward to staying connected. Thank you, everyone, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Michiko.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Michiko. We love you.
I love
Love
you
you.
all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love you so much. Thank you.